Hey Moonies, welcome to the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast. I'm your host, Victoria L. Johnson, and I'm here with comic book artist DJ Kirkland. His art has appeared in The Black Mage, Dream Daddy, Agretsuko, and he's also one half of the Magical Boys podcast. He's actually probably one of the biggest Sailor Moon stans I know also, so I'm really excited to have him here today.
It's like literally half of the things that I scream about on Twitter, so
yeah.
I'm so happy to be in a place where I can just go off about my favorite thing on the planet. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. When I created this podcast, I'm like, there's no way I can do this without having him on at some point because, like you said, like on Twitter, you are probably one of the people who talk about Sailor Moon the most,
Yes.
along with myself. So, yeah. So I was like, yes, you're in the right place. You can scream all about Sailor Moon all you want for an hour at least.
Oh, thank God.
But the first question I usually ask everyone is just what's your first memory of watching Sailor Moon?
My first memory of watching Sailor Moon was when I was 7 or 8. Sailor Moon at the time would come on at like 7 o'clock in the morning before I would get ready to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember watching the first transformation sequence for the first time, and I was getting ready for school, and I was just so mesmerized by what was happening on screen. And I was already drawing a lot at that point, but I had like no like idea of what anime was or anything like that. So I was just so enthralled by what was happening on the screen. There were all these colors and sparkles and everything, and I was like pointing at the screen, and I was calling for my mom, and I was like, Mom, come look. And I pointed to the television, and I was like, I want to do that. And it's, Usagi like twirling around and sparkling and everything.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay. So I don't think she quite understood at that moment what she meant by that.
Mm-hmm.
But shortly after that, like, she has always been super encouraging of me doing art and everything. So she saw that I kept drawing this character like on notebook paper, on my homework, on all the stuff that I would use for school, and just kind of encouraged me to keep drawing and all of that stuff. So yeah, season 1, like probably very early episodes of that first season were probably my earliest recollections of Sailor Moon, and I've just been in love ever since.
That's so cool. So when you were pointing at it, were you saying like I want to do animation and art? Is that like kind of where your mindset was?
Yeah, that's where my head was at. I was like, whatever this is, like I want to make these drawings. I want to do this.
Oh, that's so cool. Because at first I thought you were saying I want to be a Sailor Scout, which is what I was thinking. When
I was also that too.
Yeah. And I was just like, yeah,
that too. Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah. That's so cool that it really like sparked your love for art and led to your career.
Completely. Yeah. This series is solely responsible for me becoming an artist.
Wow. That is amazing. Yeah. We had another guest, Morgan Jerkins, and she talked about how it inspired her to go to Tokyo. And and it's just so cool how like this show is so impactful on people that it literally has changed their course of their lives.
Yeah, I mean, and what's crazy is that we're seeing so much of its influence in work today, especially like in kids programming today. Like we've seen like Teen Titans Go do like an homage to Sailor Moon in the transformation sequences, and The Amazing World of Gumball has done them too. Yeah. And like all of these cartoons that we're seeing now, that there are people, there are like fellow Moonies that have made their way into animation, into games, into comics, and the impact that it has on pop culture and just like the magical girl genre as we know it today is like undeniable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've seen like the new She-Ra definitely had some influence, and Craig of the Creek.
Yeah,
I think it is. They had the transformation sequence, so it's everywhere. Yeah. Did you have a favorite Scout versus She?
Oh my gosh. So this is always such a hard question. It's like picking your favorite child.
I know.
Growing up, I was like all about Usagi growing up. She was my favorite growing up, and she still is today. But as I got older, like Minako just spoke to me on so many levels. Like, her personality is very much similar to mine. So yeah, I resonated with both of them a lot. Like, I think there's something within each of the Guardians that I think I can relate to personally, but I definitely just like gravitated towards Minako as I got older.
Yeah. What about her drew you to her?
I love that she was kind of doing her own thing before joining up with the rest of the Sailor Guardians, and she was doing this doing all of her missions and everything alone beforehand, and was just a baddie all on her own. And then the Sailor Guardians met up with her. They're like, "Are you the Moon Princess?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know, but I've been doing this whole like Sailor Guardian thing by myself for a minute." So I just think that she's so cool and so resilient, and I can just relate to a person that like just wants to kind of be booed up, like wants a man, wanted a man at some point, and all that stuff. But I also just love that in the manga, it was very much like the opposite. Like, she was very much like, I don't need a man. I've got Ray right here. So it's like, just like that kind of energy about that character. I really love her, and I love that confidence within her.
Yeah, no, that confidence is definitely on point. And like, I always love her glasses, the red glasses. I think those are iconic, and I wish Sailor Moon kept them too. But
yeah, I wish she did too.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely agree with everything you just said. Do you have a favorite Sailor Moon moment or episode?
Oh my god, yeah. So there is an episode. I just have to make sure I get the episode number correct. Yeah. 1 second.
That's fine. We don't judge.
Yeah, it's part of season 2. It's Protect Chibiusa, the 10 Guardians of Warriors clash. So it was like when the Intercentia are fighting the Ayakashi sisters, or the Spectre sisters. Yeah, that battle was, I don't know, something about that fight. I mean, it was so beautifully animated, and it was like so well paced, and it was like such a critical moment in that arc with the Ayakashi sisters that I go back to that episode over and over and over again. It's the episode that I watch every year on my birthday, because it's like what I do is I watch my favorite episode of Sailor Moon, and I get my favorite food and just like indulge in all of my favorite things on my birthday, and that's like one of my favorite episodes of all time, if not my absolute favorite.
I love that tradition.
Yeah, I feel like birthdays are the days where you kind of get to be selfish and to be all about yourself and all of the things that you love and indulge in. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go get my favorite food. I'm gonna go get my favorite drink. I'm gonna watch my favorite show. I'm gonna play my favorite game, and just be all about you that day for that 24 hours. It's a special day.
Yeah, I totally agree. I live by the same rules. I think for my birthday this year, since we're in quarantine, I just like got some Korean wings from I ordered in and watched TV. I don't remember what I watched though, but yeah, I should have watched Sailor Moon.
You can never go wrong. You can never go wrong.
Ever. That is a great one too, because is that if I'm remembering correctly, that's the one where they kind of like pretend they kind of like are going against Usagi.
It was like the episode that was like I think it was like the episode before that was leading up to that fight.
Got it. Okay.
It was like Sailor Moon and Chibiusa were kind of like got into a fight. Oh, it's the episode where it opens and she wet the bed. Chibiusa wets the bed and she's like really, really mad at her. And she doesn't really apologize, and so she goes and runs off, and she wants to go back home. So she tries to summon the key to go back home, and when she starts crying, it basically shoots up that beam of light. So basically Rubius and all of the Spectre sisters see, there she is, she's here. Right. And so they like Koan and Berthier go and like try to capture her, and then she just kind of runs away.
Yeah. The more you like describe it, the more I'm like remembering. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. That episode's so good. It's so good.
It is. They are some of the best villains too. The Black Moon Clan, and just like Rubius, and like that whole arc that season just has like the best villains.
Yeah, those were some of my favorite villains of the entire series. I completely agree.
Yeah, I agree, obviously. Yeah. I think Hot Topic too has like a bunch of shirts with them going on right now.
Oh, if they do, I will buy them.
They have a Black Moon Clan shirt that I got, and it's just Wise Man, and it's so cool because it kind of looks like it could be a band t-shirt if you don't know what Sailor Moon is.
Yeah.
But it's just like cool because they're like my favorite villains.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is awesome. I saw one time too that you tweeted that if you want to work on something Sailor Moon related at some point.
Oh God, yes.
Do you have like a dream project?
Yeah, my dream project would be to be like on the social media team for a Sailor Moon fighting game, or just like a new Sailor Moon game on something. So I want, for nothing else, I want the kind of same treatment that Dragon Ball Fighter Z got, in terms of like it being this like celebration of Dragon Ball Z, and it's this like super faithful fighting game that is just a love letter to that franchise. I want that same energy, and I want the same developer to make that game, but Sailor Moon instead. And I just want to be like on that social team, like talking to like pro fighting game players that are like which Sailor Guardian are you gonna pick in this exhibition tournament that we're gonna have, and all that stuff. Like I want that so badly.
Oh, that'd be so awesome. Yeah, I want that too. There are not enough Sailor Moon games, especially there are none, I think, for us to play unless you have like contraptions.
Yeah, I was very devastated when Sailor Moon Drops was no longer available in the App Store. I was like, no, this is my only Sailor Moon thing that I can play in like this timeline. Like, and oh God, so sad.
Yeah, I was really sad too because I was legit addicted.
Yeah,
and like I even I like tried to hack the thing with like changing the date of my phone or something so I can get hearts.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, you tried to like cheat so you can no longer get hearts. So I just had to like wait.
No.
So sad. No. I could never like get more, like have them build up. Like I had to like wait for like me to get like 5 like every 24 hours.
Oh my God.
I was just like, oh my God, I can't do this. But I was so addicted to that game for the same reason, because it was like, this is the only Sailor Moon game I ever had.
Yeah.
I must play it every day.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's really addictive. Yeah. But we talked a lot about Sailor Moon. I do love your work too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How did you end up starting working with Danny on the Black Mage?
So, we're gonna take a trip down memory lane to 2015. Ooh. Simpler times.
Yeah, actually, for a lot of reasons.
So I was at PAX West in Seattle, and my publisher of Black Mage, Oni Press, had a booth there because they do a lot of comics that have a lot of crossover with games and that whole space, and they also make tabletop games that are based on the books that they have, and Scott Pilgrim being like one of the really popular series that also had a tie-in game, so it's a really good fit for them. And I was there because I was visiting Seattle and visiting some of my friends, and I was walking around the show floor, and my editor was like, come to the booth, I want to talk to you about something. And I said, okay, sure. And he was like, so I have this book for you, it's called The Black Mage. We really think that your art really suits the book. It's very like anime inspired, and it's got like a black protagonist, and it's all about like destroying racists and everything, but it's all like within like the world of Worlds of Final Fantasy and like shonen anime, and we think that your art would be perfect for it. So I said, absolutely, where do I sign? What do we need to do to make this happen?
Right.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah. And my editor was like, I'm going to give you the content information for the writer so you guys can like start to talk and get to know each other and all that stuff. And yeah, so that's when me and Danny kind of really like hit it off there in that moment. And we have since then become like best friends. He's like one of my closest friends at this point. And it's really rare to meet someone and become a collaborator with them in comics and it be this kind of kismet moment because both him and I have similar upbringings. We were both only children that grew up in the South, and we were like one of the only few Black kids in our communities, and we're super interested in anime and manga and video games and all that stuff. So we have a lot of the same like tastes and like values and interests. So we like have this shorthand to where we can just communicate in like a couple of different like things. So when we were developing Black Mage, it was conversations like, oh, you remember that one scene from Full Metal Alchemist? I'm like, oh yeah, let's try to like capture that same kind of energy in this chapter or in this panel or in this page. And we have just been developing this series together since 2015. So we signed the contracts at the beginning of 2016 after I auditioned, and they loved the treatment that I did for it. And we'd been working on it since 2016 going into 2019. That's when the book released in November, and it's been out for like 7-ish to 8 months at this point, and it's going into its second printing, which is super exciting.
Yeah, it's so creative too. I love you both did a great job. Like I love the art, and I love like some of the character designs, and like the names, like the crow is named Jim Crow, and I thought that was kind of clever and funny and interesting.
Oh yeah, it was like the book very much is about like being very in your face, like tongue in cheek, and not pulling any punches. Like so it can definitely kind of like strike people off guard because of how just like in your face it is, and with that we didn't want to really mince words. We didn't really want to leave room for interpretation about what these things are and what they really mean and what it really stands for and all of that. So we, you know, especially with like the main character, his name being Tom Token, and taking the trope about Uncle Tom, and then also being like the token, but flipping it on its head, and him being this super smart, really pro-Black kid who wants to, you know, keep his head down and get the best education that he can so that he can become an incredible magician. Like he wants to be like the best archmage. So that very much is very similar to, you know, like in Naruto, like Naruto wants to be the Hokage, and Asta wants to be like the whatever it is I was gonna try and help in Black Clover. I don't know why it just don't know. I don't know why it just escaped me, but it's very much in that same vein. And we wanted to kind of inject that, but also like tackle subjects of race, but do it in a very, you know, shonen anime tongue-in-cheek kind of way. And I think we were mostly very successful with it, and you know, a lot of people really resonated with the book and really enjoyed it. So we're super blessed and grateful that the book has done as well as it has, and we're excited to potentially make more in the future. I remember reading it and I was just like, y'all ain't shy away from nothing.
No,
like, not at all.
Like, oh, this is what we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
And just for people who may not know, Black Mage is about a Black teenager who starts attending an all-white magical school and attempts to learn how to become a magician.
Yep.
And discovers a, you know, underbelly secret society.
Yes.
kind of situation. I guess does that work? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very that. Don't want to give too much away for those of you that haven't read it yet, but that's pretty much the plot synopsis, like to the T.
Yay! Okay. It's like, I think I got this.
Yeah.
And you also did Dream Daddy and Aggretsuko. How did those come about?
So fortunately, I was very lucky that the publisher of Black Mage is also the publisher for the Dream Daddy comics and the Aggretsuko comics. So once you're kind of in with a publisher, they're always gonna like throw things your way if they think it's a good fit for you. So we had a conversation about Dream Daddy, and my one of my editors was like, "Hey, like, are you like interested in Dream Daddy at all? We're doing comic adaptations of it, and we'd love to have your take on those characters." And I'm like, "Sign me up." And my really good friend Josh, who wrote the script for our Dream Daddy issue, which is aptly titled Dungeons and Daddies, where all of the romanceable dads from the Dream Daddy game are playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons together. And it kind of flips back and forth between their D&D campaign and the stuff that's going on in their lives together. So it was super fun to work on that.
Oh, I love those kind of concepts, especially with Dungeons and Dragons. It can get so fun where it's like, oh, now I'm an elf, or
Yeah, exactly. So it was fun to get to kind of like play with those characters and design their D&D versions of themselves. So that was really fun to kind of do that, in addition to like, with working with these already established characters, and the team that worked on Dream Daddy loved what we did with them. So I was super happy about that. Definitely wanted to impress the people that made the source material, of course. So that was a really fun job to do. And Aggretsuko kind of came about the same way. My editor was like, we are working on the Aggretsuko comics too. Is that something that you're interested in? And I said, yes. Like, I'm in no position to really say no. So I was like, sign me up. I want to do this. I love the show. Right. So I just jumped at the opportunity to do it, and it was just a lot of fun. And that was another project that Daniel and I worked on together. So it was just a blast. It was a lot of fun to work on. Sanrio is very particular about their characters, and rightfully so. So, it definitely went through a couple rounds of revisions, but ultimately it came out the best that it possibly could.
Yeah, you had some really great, I don't know the correct term for this, so I'm sorry, but like one page kind of like blowout art pages.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, so like kind of like they're referred to as like splash pages.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The words was escaping me.
It's all good. No worries.
Yeah, so he has some really great splash pages in Aggretsuko. That was just like, yes, capture all the rage.
Yeah, thank you.
Fire.
So, and the great thing about working with Daniel for so long, like, he knows what my strengths are as an artist. So when he writes, he always plays to those strengths. So again, when we're talking about having like a great relationship with a co-collaborator, it's awesome to know somebody that is always going to have your best interest at heart and is always going to play to your strengths. So working with him is like one of the easiest working situations that I've ever had, like working in any, like whether it's like a day job or in comics. Like, he's been a treasure to work with, and I'm never going to let him go. He's amazing.
Yes. Don't do it. Yeah. It's like one in a lifetime. Did you play the Dream Daddy game before you worked on it, or?
Yes, I definitely played a little bit of the game. I played 2 routes. I played the route for both Craig and Brian are the 2 routes that I played, and those are my 2 favorite dads. And fortunately, in the comic, those 2 were heavily featured a lot in the book, so it was fun to be able to like draw like my favorite, like, of the romanceable dads, like 2 of my favorite dads, like getting to draw them together was a lot of fun.
That is awesome. It's so cool how things work out like that.
Yeah, nice. Like it was one of those things where it's like, an opportunity like this isn't always gonna come around, so why not jump at the opportunity to do it? So it was great. The timing was right on it, so being able to do that while also working on Black Mage at the same time, because those things were kind of happening in tandem, was really challenging, but it was so worth it.
Yeah, I could see that. And you mentioned being an anime fan. Obviously, you're a fan of Aggretsuko.
Yes.
You mentioned Fullmetal Alchemist. Is there any other anime that you like?
Oh God, we could be here all day. I'm a kid of the 90s, so like anime from like the 1980s through like 1999 is like my sweet spot. And then going into like the 2000s of the Toonami era and all that stuff too. There's a lot of really good stuff there. But for me, like, Ranma 1/2 is another one of my favorite shows. When I think about comedy and like character acting and shows that are hyper character focused, like, I look at Ranma as such a great example. Like, those characters are so fully realized and unique and funny and just and 3-dimensional. So like, I love Ranma for everything that it is. And something that's a little bit newer that I love, obviously, like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, I think is a masterpiece from start to finish. So good. And of course, like the staples like Cowboy Bebop and Like I'm a black kid that grew up in the 90s, so like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z was like very much part of my growing up.
It's like rites of passage.
Yeah, it's like a black nerd rite of passage is Dragon Ball Z for sure.
Yeah.
Outlaw Star is another really good one too. Let's see what else of like the newer stuff. I have watched Kakeguri like so many times. It's like the gambling anime. It is so ridiculous and over the top and extra. I've watched it like both seasons at least 3 times over. That's because it's just, I love things that are just like fun and over the top and don't take themselves too seriously. And it's one of those over the top anime shows that I love. Another magical girl show that I love is Kill la Kill, which is just again like the perfect combination of like shonen action and then all the trappings of like magical girl shows, but like with Studio Trigger like poured all on top of it. Like I just want it injected directly into my veins.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Kill la Kill is awesome. Have you had a chance to check out Retro Crush?
Yes. When I saw that Retro Crush had all of these like classic shows, I'm like, oh, this is a no-brainer. I definitely have to get this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. And you've probably seen when I've posted that stuff on Twitter, I'm like, man, like anime doesn't look like that anymore, and I wish it did. I really, really wish it did. Like there's something about those aesthetics from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s in anime that you just don't see that anymore today. And I wish we would see more shows that are like that. There are some shows today that definitely like harken back to older times for sure, but yeah, it's not the wave anymore, and I'm saddened by that constantly. But you know, even amidst my personal preference of a look of anime, like I'm definitely more of like a Retro Crush kind of a person. But there's so much new stuff that's out there that's just fantastic that I really, really enjoy too.
Yeah, there's so much out there, and I think Adorn by Chi has this sweatshirt and shirt that says 90s anime aesthetic, and I'm just like, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
All of that. Yeah, there's just something special about it. I don't know what it is, but there is definitely, I don't know if it's like the expressions or just like the gorgeous art and just like you can tell like the love that was put into it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's indescribable what it is about that era of time to where it was like catching lightning in a bottle. And there's definitely still tons of lightning in bottles that are happening today. Like I don't want that to ever like be misconstrued, but there's something that's just so special about that time. I think it might be, I think for me it's the level of like love and care of like each painted, like hand painted cell of animation, like, and the amount of work that it took to make a cartoon back then. Like it still is a ton of work today, but like it was so analog back then, and you just can't replicate that. It's hard to replicate that kind of look today. And I wish we could find like there's like I saw like a portion of like a documentary on like the making of Sailor Moon that there's like a clip of it floating around like on YouTube and on Twitter, but I'm like, I want to see the whole thing of that, because I want to see how they made all these like sparkly glowy effects without a computer. I'm like, how is that possible?
Oh, that's a good point.
like all of those effects, those particle effects, the glow and sparkles and all of that stuff. Like I think about specifically the moon cosmic power makeup, that transformation sequence with that glowing heart spinning in perfect perspective around Usagi, and then it turns into sparkles and it makes her skirt. I'm like, how did they do that without a computer? How?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about
I'm like,
that.
how did they do it? Like, I'm sure there was a computer involved in some part of it, but like, how? Like, I'm so curious as to how they were able to do that.
Magic.
Yeah. That's that anime magic of the 90s.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's the only logical explanation.
Period.
And what else do you stand outside of, anime and Sailor Moon?
What else do I stand? I mean, I I stand Beyonce. Like,
Yes.
I just, how can you not?
Honestly.
Black is
Yeah.
King just dropped, so after this, I'm gonna go watch that.
Same.
What else do I stan? I'm just like forever like a fighting game stan. Like that's just like my lifeblood. Like I grew up in the arcade and all that. Again, like just like so like deliciously 90s, like VHS tapes, anime,
Right.
arcades, being in the mall, like all of that stuff is like very much like my childhood, and I want to inject that into my work. What else do I stan? Oh my god, like I feel like so many things, like Steven Universe, again, like Rebecca Sugar, like I'm a Rebecca Sugar stan. Like I want to know what she does next. I hope she's taking a very long and well-deserved break from Steven Universe, but I'm so hungry for more of what's in her head. I want to know what else she wants to create, and I want that. I really want that.
That's also another show that Sailor Moon inspired.
Yeah,
or definitely has some Sailor Moon inspiration there.
Tons of influences from that for sure. I'm a Street Fighter stan. Like if we're getting into specifics for fighting games, like Chun-Li, like that's my girl. Like day one, like
Thunder Thighs.
I'm like she walked so that all these other fighting game girls could run. So like there's just no argument there. I guess when it comes to like live action stuff and like if we're talking like TV, like I love like ridiculous over the top television. So like I love a messy reality show. So like a Real Housewives, like catch me every week watching my Housewives shows.
Yes.
I just love just like popcorn pop culture stuff that I can just like kind of shut my brain off and just like enjoy the like ridiculousness of it all. Like because like everything is so like serious right now, this being able to turn my brain off for like an hour to watch like wealthy rich like white women like tear each other apart like over the most ridiculous stuff, like not attending a party or like a puppy or like it's like how ridiculous and absurd their storylines are and what they turn into 12 and 13 episode story arcs over a he said she said thing. Like whole seasons of those shows are literally focused are like the crux of those things are like this could be solved with a phone call. Like you could just text them and say I'm sorry, but it wouldn't make good television. So it's like I love all that ridiculous stuff.
That's funny.
I just love like content. I love pop culture. I love like music. I love television. Like I'm a TV kid. Like I just like grew up watching so much television, like animated movies. Like I just want to take in so much content whenever I can.
Yeah, I'm with you there all the way. Like I am 100% love content. And what advice would you have for any artists who want to either release their own projects or work with a big company like Oni Press one day?
So here's the thing, right? You're if you are making a portfolio to like appease like what you think a publisher will like, it's gonna show in your work that you're not really passionate about it, unless you are passionate about those specific things. Like if you are like really into like mainstream big two comics like Marvel and DC and you like love that stuff, like you got to put that stuff in your portfolio and you have to dress for the job that you want. So if you want to do this is like what I would go back in time and tell like 19-year-old me that's like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in college that wants to be a manga artist like so bad or and all that stuff. I'm like babe, you gotta just like actually draw comic pages. Like you got to actually put forth the work that you want to make into a portfolio for people to see that you can execute. Because what they're looking for, you can be the nicest person in the world, you can be the most talented person in the world, but if your portfolio isn't focused on the things that you want to do, it's going to be hard to get that job that you want. So really just like work, dress for the job you want and make the stuff that you want to make. I've reviewed so many portfolios at this point in my career, like going to comics conventions and meeting people that like my work or know me through social media or just like people that are passing by, that especially with parents and they're like middle school, high school age kids that have a passion for art and want to go to art school, I would always say just like draw the stuff that makes you happy, because that's going to show in your work. The things that get you excited are always going to be the best pieces in your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
So make a portfolio of the stuff that you like, the stuff that you want to do. I want to see your OCs. I want to see your comics with your OCs in them, because I'm going to see that excitement about it in the work. And just, you got to just keep pushing and don't give up. And I think the biggest takeaway that I think applies more so now than when I was kind of coming up, because social media wasn't really a thing when I was in college. It was just coming out then. To not focus so much on the likes and the retweets, right? Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting lots of followers, because I'm not going to sit on this podcast and lie with my whole chest and not say that stuff doesn't matter, because it does. Like, I've gotten the majority of my jobs through Twitter. Like, I've had people reach out to me, like I've had editors reach out to me, and then we transitioned to email, but it started with a DM. It started with a DM on Twitter, or an introductory email that says, hey, like, I found your work on Twitter and I would love to talk to you more about X, Y, and Z opportunity. Taking part in those hashtags, especially for my Black folks that are out there, the Drawing While Black tag is super important. Like, I've gotten at least emails through that tag from people seeing my work in the Drawing While Black hashtag. So participating online and wanting more eyes on your work is not a bad thing. Like, the more eyes you have on your work, the higher the probability there is that you could have the right person see your work. But the caveat to that is to, like, it's not the end all be all, right? Like, it's about kind of striking that balance, like understanding that social media is absolutely a tool to get more eyes on your work, and people like hiring people that are out there, recruiters are out there, editors are out there, people, showrunners are out there that are looking for new and undiscovered talent. So being online is absolutely super important, but equating your self-worth to the amount of likes and retweets that you have is not good. Like, don't do that. Like, right. You are more than the amount of work that you put out every day. Like, it's easy to see popular artists who are at the stage in their career to where they don't have to have a job that keeps them from being able to, pump out as much content as they're pumping out. It's okay if you're only putting out a piece every couple of weeks or a week or whatever that looks like for you, because you have a job that requires so much of your energy and your time, 40 hours a week or whatever that looks like. You've got your own responsibilities, whether that's being a parent, being a student, working, just being an adult, or just like having multiple responsibilities. There's so many factors that are involved that can keep us away from being able to make the work that we want to make, but not to give up, like just to get in whatever time you can to make the work that you can when you can is more important than anything. So like, you might produce a piece once a month. That's okay. That's nothing wrong with that. And you will get to a place to where you can create more work. And who knows, you'll be on a podcast talking about Sailor Moon and talking about your book and the things that you're doing and all that stuff. So yeah, like, social media is a tool, but it's not the end all be all, and it doesn't determine your value as an artist or a content creator. That's like my biggest takeaway especially for the kids coming up today.
Yeah. I love how like being on this podcast could be a goal for somebody.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope that's true for somebody.
When I got the email from you, I was like, yes. I would love to talk about Sailor Moon for 30 minutes to an hour. I would love that.
Right. Literally.
Like, anytime.
That should be my tagline. We talk about Sailor Moon for 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yes, every week. Honestly.
Yeah, I totally get that though. I think that kind of ties into what you were saying before, because I've seen a lot of people who say, you know, they try to force content because they're trying to chase what's popular.
Yeah.
And it, you know, and it comes off as, or it can come off as, you know, not as authentic.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes they don't feel as good about the art because they feel that it wasn't, you know, something they actually wanted to do, but something they wanted to do to get likes, to get more attention, to, you know, sometimes get more jobs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that makes a lot of sense to me. And I hope it makes sense to listeners.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah. And then, you know, just like Sailor Moon's had her Sailor Moon Says phrase at the end of every episode, what would your phrase be? So Sailor DJ says.
Sailor DJ says, log out of Twitter. Take a break.
Yeah.
Drink some water. Do anything else.
Get some air.
Get some air. Go outside. Wear a mask. Yes. Please, wear a mask. Yeah. Social distance. Right. Get some fresh air, but log out of Twitter. Put your phone away. Like, and I need to tell myself that, like, every day I'm like, put the phone down, sis. Yeah. Put it down. Please.
Sometimes I'll put my app in a different place on my phone. Yeah. And then, you know, you realize just how much you go to click on it, just like absentmindedly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so scary.
Mm-hmm.
That's good advice, though. I think, yeah. Stay away from Twitter when you can. Yeah. Put it down.
Just put it away.
Step away.
Put it away. Go watch an episode of Sailor Moon.
Yes.
Do anything. Just like get away from it for 30 minutes, an hour, hours. If you can, if like you can, like a day, right. Go somewhere where you don't have reception and do anything else. Yeah. I mean, within what is feasible to do right now, but yeah, but yeah, more importantly, especially right now, Sailor DJ says wear a mask, please, yes. Wear a mask.
We had another guest that was like, wash your hands, for God's sake.
Oh God, please wash your hands, please. Begging.
Yeah. All of this, just great advice. Self-care.
Yes, please. It's so important.
Yes. And then what's next for you, and where can people find you?
What is next for me? So I recently just signed with Inkwell Management. I have an agent, a literary agent right now, so I'm really excited about what comics looks like for me in the future. Some creator-owned stuff from me, both written and illustrated by me. That's something that I want to do in the future. I'm, trying to speak it into existence that I'm gonna hopefully transition into animation at some point. I would love to be a showrunner alongside Daniel for a Black Mage anime adaptation. That would be dope. But yeah, I'm just trying to speak those things into existence, working really hard, continuing to just like refine my craft and become a better artist, become a better storyteller, become a better writer, just become like a better like content creator in general. And also, like, trying to protect my own, like, mental health and energy, like, trying to be better about balancing, like, being online and being off. Especially since we're all stuck in our homes right now. It's hard to do anything else but be online. And yeah, I just want to keep making more things. I just want to keep making more things. I want to keep having more discussions about what gets us excited and motivated to create things. I want to just, continue to have conversations with people that are creative, that are passionate about something, that they want to make something together. Yeah, I want to just continue to make more things going forward.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm really excited to see, some more writing artists creations from you. I'm sure there'll be Sailor Moon Easter eggs in everything.
Oh yeah, like I'm gonna there's gonna be a Sailor Moon something in everything that I do.
Yes. I love it. It's the same for me, so I get it.
Yeah.
And where can people find you online?
You can find me all over the internet. I'm sadly on Twitter way too much. I'm on Twitter at OheyDJ. That's OHHEY DJ. And that's my handle on everything. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's TikTok. I'm out there TikToking with the kids.
Yes.
It is so much fun. That app has a ton of problems, but like there is so much creativity on that platform from these next generation of kids and content creators. Like, that app has been been a huge blessing for me, just because I've been able to connect with other creators that I otherwise would have never come across without that platform. So yeah, I'm on those three pretty much always. And you can check out our podcast called The Magical Boys. It's a gay gaming anime comics manga podcast, all from a queer perspective, with me and one of my best friends named Ruben. We are kind of currently posting bi-weekly right now, which will soon to be going weekly. That is our goal. Ooh. To go weekly. And we just like shoot the shit. We just connect every week just so that we can kind of check in with each other, just to say hey and talk shit for like an hour and a half about what we're playing and what we're watching and what's going on, especially like in the gaming space right now, like all the stuff that's going on, and just having a good time talking about all the stuff that we're excited about.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And yeah, I love your TikTok too. We didn't get to talk about it. And I think, like with everything else, there's upsides and downsides, but I love the TikTok that you have where you're like what people think about art, like how artists create stuff, and you're like looking at your tablet like, yeah, create the thing already, like do it.
Yeah, just like
you do it by yourself.
Just like, so are you just gonna like make the drawing for me now or not? Yeah.
What's going on?
Very that energy.
Magically. Yeah. So your TikToks have been really funny and great. And yeah, so definitely check out those.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And once again, I am Victoria L. Johnson, aka Miss Old School. It's Old School with AK. And you can find the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast at Moonies Club on Twitter and Moonies_Club on Instagram. And thanks for listening, Moonies. And thanks, DJ.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.